All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to day one of the e-talks. Over these 2 days, we'll be talking with 9 different entrepreneurs. These are individuals at the very forefront of entrepreneurship. Some of you know me. My name is Akash Sapru. I'm the assistant professor of design thinking and innovation here at Heinz Institute. And it's my philosophy and also the philosophy of the Heinz Institute that we try to meld theory with practice. So the idea is whatever we are teaching you inside the classroom, we substantiate that with folks who are actually living and breathing some of those insights. And that's how these e-talks have been designed for you to get a perspective on different kinds of entrepreneurs, different kinds of entrepreneurial endeavors that they have going on. And the larger idea is for you to find some inspiration, motivation, and also very practical insights from their example, because they've been there, they've done it, or they're still doing it, right? So the way I've structured this talk is this is a fireside chat format where I'll be engaging in a very informal conversation. I will speak for about 30-35 minutes, and then I'll open the floor for Q&A. Now, some of you are required to work on the reflective assignments, and if that's the case, please take notes. If you must, it's okay if you want to take notes on your phone as well. Okay. So with that, let's get started. I'm thrilled to introduce our very special guest, Soumya Das. So Soumya is the founder of the Hierophant Entertainment, a creative studio producing globally unique action figures. You can see some of them right there, some of the comics that he has produced. So he specializes in Indian folklore, history, and mythology. So graphic novels with very original storytelling. As a founder, he oversees product vision, design strategy, and cross-functional development from concept to actual bringing those ideas on the ground. Before Soumya became a full-time entrepreneur, he spent over a decade in fintech, and he specialized in digital innovation, product management, coding, analytics, and data management. I had the privilege of sitting with Soumya in my MBA classrooms over 10 years ago. So we went to a graduate school together. We were classmates. Both of us came from India at the same time. So it's an honor for me to invite one of my very close friends with whom I've actually shared so many class sessions together, right? So let's actually start this by giving Soumya a warm round of applause.
Thanks everyone, and thanks Akash for having me.
Is it what? Let's see if it's okay.
Thanks for having me here. And this photo is from Iowa State when I was going to the campus event.
Yeah, I think this photograph is probably when we were trying to get our first jobs. When we were standing in lines, handing out resumes to people. So welcome, Soumya. Welcome. Let's actually do this. Let's set the stage. We'll go into your background and everything. But before we do that, how about you talk to us about what you're doing today in terms of your entrepreneurial ventures? If you can talk to us about that.
Yes, sir. I'm the founder and project manager at the Hierophant Elephant. I did not take any title like the CEO or the light, because I figured it doesn't matter unless it is something, not the titles matter. So basically what we do at the Hierophant Entertainment is we are building action figures for now. But if you look closely, we have many building sites. Properties that can be action figures, that can be books, that can be an animated show or movie or something like that. And all that started with just graphic novels. Me writing them, doing the art for them, and then publishing them through Amazon. So now we are making action figures and factories and Czech. So Finn went to more stuff with it, but so for now we're just asking yourself.
And you could see some of the work that he has done himself. Like, this is very impressive, Soumya. Let's actually take this back. So, talk to us about your background, growing up in India, early childhood experiences, things of that sort.
Yeah. Growing up in India, like if you have Indian friends or teachers who are from India, who have at their schooling in India, you know that it's a bit stricter than here. Like so, the career paths that someone can take in India are limited because your parents want you to have a stable job, and for that you need the education. So that's how my childhood was. And as good at studies, that's a different thing. But I always observed my mother, who used to make dolls. She used to make dolls like with cotton and cloth, and she did all that just by herself. She loved that she used to do that. That kind of shaped a lot of my artistic vision, abilities, and just the desire to do. So that's how I was growing up. It's a mix of creativity and trying to mix that with education or whatever.
Great. So, because this is an educational institution, so talk to us about when you were growing up. What, if any, influence did your schooling have on you?
So, as for schooling, like the stories that we are telling through the Legends of Ramayana, that's the action figure line we have. We had Ramayana in our school too. Like that's an extra book that you can read.
Okay, can you give some context around that?
So Ramayana is one of the epics. So the epic is basically like, for Indian context, it's a Sanskrit poem. So that has like thousands of verses, and it tells a story. Basically, like a lot of people in India, almost everyone, they know it because of the culture there, and a lot of other people around the globe, they have similarities or like a similar story going on here. So people in Japan, in Indonesia, they also have a story. So that's what Ramayana is. And even for the comic books, we have a different comic book culture in India than here. It's inspired from here. But all these stories we have also read there, and a lot of the stories that we read are from inspired or copied from the comic books. So that's how it was. Growing up, that's how I got a majority of my inspirations. And apart from that, it's anime. We had access to anime like passion. So that also exists.
I'm sure that was a very niche audience because I didn't have access to it. I mean, maybe I had access, I just wasn't interested. But yeah, that's great. So talk to us about leaving India and coming to the US for your MBA. What was that? What shaped that decision? And then what was your experience during the MBA program?
It's many opportunities. There are a lot of opportunities here that we do not get back home. One of them being like if you want to choose a specific path, a career path, you don't have options there. If you get into a job, then you have to do that job, right? That's what you will be doing for a decade or like till you retire. The options to switch are very limited. So that was one. And secondly, I wanted because we, as I said, had access to a lot of Western material in India growing up, like comic books and movies. There were like cartoon shows that influenced my thinking. And I wanted to see that all up close. And that was why I was driven to take the plunge. Like I'd come here, I'd see and educate myself and see where it goes.
And then, but why specifically MBA? Like what was about the MBA program that inspired you to come here?
The MBA program, mainly business mindset. I had the business mindset. I used to work at a company, but I always try to innovate there. Like one of the main things that entrepreneurs do is innovation, right? And I kept innovating different things, be it like in my day-to-day life, be it at the office, be it at any club that I was a part of. And I thought that if I do the MBA, right, I would get experience and knowledge of certain things that I don't know anything about. Be it accounting, be it finance, be it like learning directly from entrepreneurs that you guys are getting that opportunity. We had those opportunities at Aerospace. And that was one of the things why I decided to go for MBA, although I have a technical background. As we'll do that and we'll see the job for me.
Okay, great. So basically, you worked in India after your undergraduate degree, and then you came to the US for your MBA program. So talk to us about getting your first job here, because you didn't become an entrepreneur right after your MBA. So you worked in the corporate for a while. Talk to us about that experience.
So before we go to my first job, which I did not get from this, I was an intern at a company in Cedar Falls. What they did was they were collecting debt from people. So there were like a lot of defaulters who don't pay their debt. And then those debts go to this company and they have to collect. And over the years, they collected all these data from different people and stored them in different databases. And these databases did not talk to each other. Right? And that was the project I was brought in for. And I was told that we get an intern every summer. We have been getting them for the past 5 years. Never goes anywhere. And that was the project they gave me. And the project actually kicked off. And that summer I made, I think, $18,000 to $20,000 just as an intern working for that company. So that's one of the examples of opportunities. And that gave me that idea that this is a problem that needs to be solved. And that exists in a lot of different companies. When I started with EY, that was my first full-time job.
That's Ernst & Young?
Ernst & Young, yeah. So now they have wings that do entirely business stuff. They have business consulting as well. Back then they did not have it. And I got into risk management, technology risk, and that kind of stuff. From there, I got into data analytics, and I kept switching. I got into different roles. At one point, I was an educator in the company. I was going around the WTC. And then COVID happened. And when COVID happened, they formed a different unit within Ernst & Young, and they called it Inventure. So that was like an in-house innovation hub. And I was one of the first few people, probably one of the first 5, to get pulled into that. And we made an app, the first time ever in the history of Ernst & Young, totally internal app that we were making. And we pulled in a different, from different practices, we pulled in different people, product managers, technological folk, programmers, and I was one of them. And we built this. And after that, we had like the innovation wing at UN. So that's kind of the journey within EY. Then I switched. I went into another company where I did strategic innovation for a while. And that's about it. That's what I did for like a decade before switching to my own company.
So that's great. So you already were working in corporate America. Life would have been good financially. What compelled you to make that switch into full-time entrepreneurship? Because that meant that you have to leave your job, a very well-paying job. Like, why did you make that switch?
There's no right or wrong answer to it. It's always a risk when you are like moving from a well-paying job. In my last company, I was a solution director. I left that. The thing is, I figured that if I don't do it now, I will never do it. Right? So if there's something that you want to do, just take the leap. You're not going to lose anything except, say, years. Right? If I take the plunge, I try something out for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and I fail, I can still go back to doing what I was doing. Right? I have that ability. No one is taking away my skills or my education from me, and I'll still have that. But if I don't take this plunge, if I don't take this leap, I'm going to regret it. Like when I'm retired, I have a lot of money. I'm going to regret that I never planned. So that was one of the main factors when I moved.
And then one could actually say that even though you became an entrepreneur very recently, that's when you started the company, but you were engaged in the creative process from the very beginning, right? From maybe the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
So help us understand that.
Yeah. So one thing I would like to touch upon, and you will learn about it too. You might have already learned about it. It's called social capital, right? So there's networking, but then there's something called social capital, which includes networking, but at the same time aligning yourself with different people, giving something to them without expecting anything back. So that way you build your own community. I did that for a very long time. And that's something you have to do selflessly. You are not doing it because you have to get something back from them. So just genuinely connect with people, talk to people, understand what they're doing, what motivates them. If you want to get into a field where they are already working, you have to learn from them. And that's not a long time back. While working in India, while I was in college, like doing my undergrads in India, I was still working for graphic novel companies. I was doing work for free. I was doing work for very low pay, but I was still doing it. And when I moved here, I did like free stuff for people, for a cause, wrote plays for my association, like students association I was a part of. So I did that. And at the same time, I started attending Comic Cons. So I remember like the internship that I was doing, and I was at Cedar Falls, and Akash was at he was in Chicago. I stayed at his place for 2 days, and I went to Chicago Comic Con. And I remember Mike Mignola was there. Mike Mignola is the creator of Hellboy. He's very nice guy, and he has done a lot of stuff. He's there. We have like 3 or 4 Hellboy movies out there right now. And I remember going to his table. He doesn't do many shows, and he was just signing. And there's a long line. I was standing in the line. I stood in the line for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, something like that. And when I reached his table, I didn't have anything to get signed. So I just told him that I came by to say hi and spoke to him for like 5 minutes or something. And that was it. And then I kept meeting him. I kept going to different shows that he was going to. And now I think you would understand who I am, or you would know. At the same time, like it hits with like Walt Simonson and like a lot of other guys that I did not know. I approached them with a genuine interest to learn how they do what they do.
That's actually a really good point. And I would actually like you to help us understand some of the people who you have on your board, what kind of work they do, their background. But I think the larger message that Soumya is sharing with us here today is that one thing is networking, right? You reach as many people as you can. But it's about building that social capital, right? So it's not just who you know. Do they consider you valuable enough, right? And that only happens when you offer something, at times selflessly. Oftentimes we engage in these dynamics because we have something in mind that we might need something from them down the line. I think at least what Soumya is saying to us is that at times you have to do those things selflessly. And eventually, at times those things get reciprocated.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
So talk to us about the folks that you have on your board, like their background and...
So our company's board has Ron Barnes and Bart Sears. So Ron and Bart, they have been in the industry for the past 3 decades or so. Ron is the co-creator of Style Raider. He's one of the Green Lanterns, and he has written a lot of books for DC Comics. He has been part of a game, I think Diablo 4 for Blizzard, and super awesome guy. And Bart Sears is because Bart has worked on a lot of action figures in the 90s and 2000s, and he has done art for a lot of books too. His name was mentioned in the recent Superman movie as well. So both of them have been in the industry for a very long time, and they know me. And when the time came, and I reached out to Ron, and I was like, this is happening, moving to my company, I need a board. He just called, and he was like, sure, I'll do it. And do you need other people? I can get other people for you. And he spoke about on my behalf and brought him. Because they knew me for some time, and they knew, they believed in what we were doing, and both of them came on. So That's a philosophy and people.
Excellent, excellent. And we clearly know, like at least I have known that you're a really creative person. But then creativity is one part of the equation, probably actually a very important part of the equation. But then business is something very different at times, right? So we have a lot of creative folks who really struggle with the business aspect. So can you actually walk us through how did you start raising money for your business? What all challenges that you faced as you were doing that?
Yeah. So one thing that's I say all the time is fail fast, right? So if you are doing something, try it out, do rapid prototyping, and if you are failing, just don't take it to heart, move on, right? And that's what I try to do. If I have a product, like we have so many products out right now, we put it out for the people. We take it out and show it to people. We did a Kickstarter too. And that gives you the audience's response. We raised around 72,000 for the figures in Kickstarter, but we did not do the Kickstarter because we just to try or fail or succeed, right? Just to test it, right? We already knew there was a market because when we created these, we worked with few retailers who picked up bulk orders and they sold out. So one of the retailers in India, they sold out in 3 days. And one of the largest retailers in the US, they sold out in a week or so. So we already knew that people want these. And when we did the Kickstarter, we promoted that and we put it out. I did a lot of interviews back then, podcasts, and we knew that this is going to work. So that's one of the things. Like you need to know that your product is worth it, that people are going to pay money to buy it. So that's one of the things.
Great, Soumya. And I think something to note here, based off of that response, is you will not get those answers sitting in an office space or sitting in a classroom, right? You have to put those things out there. That's the only way in which you'll know whether people actually are appreciative of what you're creating or not, right? So it's one thing to, and we often do this, right? We do interviews, we do surveys. That's the first step. But you cannot just rely on those things when it comes to paying money, right? Behaviors often are very different from opinions. So actually taking action, that's the more important part.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah. Just try to sell something. That's always a challenge when you are asking people to give real money for something that you have created. Put it out there. If you can do a show, go to a flea market or something, do anything to get in front of people. And if you see people are actually paying money for it, then you're good.
That is your proof of answer.
Yeah.
Great. And we'll get to some of more business-oriented questions. But before we do that, can you help us understand that you have these books there and the figures? If you can just give us some context around what these are.
Yeah. So the Violated is a psychological horror graphic novel that I write and draw. This one started way back in 2021 or something when I put this out. And that's like a personal project. So that's like our horror universe that we are building. I work on some books myself. There are other people, other teams that work on other fan books. And that's the entire universe. It will have different books. It will have merchandise. It will probably have at one point a series or an animated movie. So that's the books part of it. And then there are the action figures. So these are like fully articulated. We have like, I think 32 to 35 points of articulation for these figures.
So help us understand that. What does that mean?
So an action figure is basically, so if you take a figurine or a statue and you put joints in there, right? So that becomes articulated. So basically it can move its hand, it can move its leg. So kids play and pose with them. And then at the same time, there's a collectibility aspect to it. There are a lot of collectors of action figures now. So for us, these are like adult collectibles. And because we go through the entire process of making these in the factory, and they're like actual artists who hand paint them. So that brings in the collectibility aspect.
And then where are these products manufactured?
So right now in China. So our studio is in New Jersey, where we do all the sculpting and prototypes, paint masters, and then we manufacture it in China.
And then how did you, because you've been living in the US for a long time now. How does someone establish a connection with manufacturers in China? How did you go about that?
So mainly people reach out to me.
They reach out to you.
So a lot of people reached out to me, and at the same time, I had connections with the studio. The studio that is sculpting for us is the Four Horsemen Studios. They have worked a lot with McFarlane Toys. They worked with Mattel. They were the ones who revived Masters of the Universe line. So they worked for us, do the sculpting, paint masters, and stuff. And the factory that we use is kind of their factory. So the connection is through them for this, the factory that we use. There are other people out there too, other factories. And if you do a Kickstarter, those factories will reach out to you offering their services. But yeah, that's how you do it. You have to have some connection. Very good.
Excellent. So these ideas that you have there in the form of a product, these are like stand-alone products. Are you thinking from an IP perspective, wherein these can actually be developed into other products once you own those? Can you help us understand?
So all these start with the design, right? So I did the design for the figures, and basically I took this from a lot of different things that I've grown up with, imagery that I've seen growing up. And at the same time, try to combine it with, like, say, if we are getting a character who is like half human, half ape, say, one of the characters there. So the colors, like his skin colors of his fur, hair, I based it off of an endangered species of apes. Right? So you take inspiration from nature, you take inspiration from what you know, what you have seen, and then you design these characters. So once you have the design, that opens up the potential for, say, books. Say you want to do an animated series, you want to do merchandise. So that opens up the doors for that. And once you have something of your own, just go forward. And it doesn't have to be like Mickey Mouse all the time. You can have something that doesn't work that well, that you will have a companion of that does well. Right? So that's how like the whole design world works, and you can keep creating in. Right? So and just don't stick with one medium. Do books, do action figures, do shows, anything that works.
Great. So Soumya, talk to us about. I'm sure you're pretty successful. Things are going really well. I know there are challenges as well, but talk to us about times when things were really tough. Any failures that you experienced, especially developing these creative businesses, challenges, failures that you face, and what did they look like?
There would be failures, right? But you lose when you give up. Right? Just understand that this is the mantra. You lose when you give up. There's no absolute failure at any point when you are in this business. And so early on, when I was making the books, I hired someone to do the artwork, and they had to quit for some reason. I tried to hire someone else. They did a few pages and they had to quit. And at that point, I was like pretty down that my book is not going forward. And I think at that point, my wife was like, "Why don't you try to draw?" And I started drawing the book myself, and now here we are, which is a property out. And even for like the action figures, I approached the Four Horsemen multiple times before, but there was no response. But I did not give. I approach retailers. I talk to people who are interested in this, and nothing goes forward. So that's very common. Just don't give up when one of those happens.
Great. And so just to set the stage, help us understand what's your definition of entrepreneurship. How do you, at a philosophical level, what does entrepreneurship mean to you?
So basically, it would be mainly innovation and risk taking. Right. So if you mix those two, then you have covered most of entrepreneurship. Right. So just innovate, just find what your niche is. If there is something that you know can work, if there's a gap in the market, you have seen something, most of the times it's something that we want, right? And we don't find it, right? And sometimes it's like a loved one who wants something and we don't find it in the open market. Just identify that gap, build on it, see how you can make something better. Like if it doesn't exist, just make a good product. If it exists, try to innovate there. We tried, like even for the action figures, that there was a thing that I had, like all the Superman action figures. He's a guy who flies, and he cannot put his head straight up when he's flying, right? If you do a flying pose, he's still looking down. So for Hanuman, we changed that because he's also a character who flies. We changed that a bit, so now he can look up while he's flying. And so innovate, make something better if you can, and take risks. But like if you're taking a financial risk, take it with a limit. But yeah, if it's something like changing your career path or something like that, you can.
Great. I think the larger message there, which is embedded within what Soumya just said, so risk-taking and being innovative. The thing is, you have to take action in the first place. That's the important part, right? A lot of us have great ideas, and that's a good starting point. But taking action, that's one of the most important parts. And a lot of people actually do not take that plunge. They fail at that step.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of people who give up even before they start. But you don't have anything to lose if you try, right? Try and fail. That's better than not doing it.
And maybe give it a shot at something that you're passionate about already.
Yeah.
Right. So in your case, it happens to be, all these creative endeavors, right?
Yep. A lot of my family and friends from childhood that tease me that this was destiny. Makes sense.
Great. So do you have an ecosystem or like supporters around you? Because I know it's a lot of work to produce all of these things from a creativity perspective, from a business perspective. Can you help us understand if there are other individuals in your life, personally, professionally, who keep you grounded and who actually help you deliver all these amazing creative products out there?
My family is very supportive. They support, but one of the major support systems I have is my wife. She did not believe me at first, but at one point she was like, okay, whatever he's doing is working, so let him do that. So she's one of my biggest support systems. Apart from that, and she's also a sounding board for me. If I'm coming up with an idea, I just tell her because I know she's going to shoot it down. That's the lowest, right? You said it to one person and that person doesn't believe it. Now you have to take it from there. So that's that. But apart from that, I have this group, like people in the action figure industry, people in the comic book industry, who have seen me grow in the past 10, 12 years. And they help me out because they saw me when I was like going to school. And from that to now, they have seen me grow, and they always like chime in. They tell me like where they fail, what I can do to avoid something like that. And the Four Horsemen are there. The Four Horsemen Studios. There's Chris, there's Eric Conboy, Albays, and then George Casper. They help me on the action figure side, and then on the comic book side, there's John, there's Bart, Phil Hester. Walt Simmons, they all have out there.
Great. So one of the biggest challenges that most entrepreneurs face is that they do not have enough money. That's something that everyone faces. I'm sure you have faced it. You already mentioned that you had a Kickstarter campaign, and I think you said you raised $70,000. Yeah. And how much time did it take to raise that money?
A month.
In 1 month?
Yeah, it was like 35 days or
okay.
Something like
so
close to.
So all right, so around a month, $70,000. Are there any other sources of funding that you have used? Maybe it's because this is one way in which you've done it. Is there anything else that has helped you, raise money for your ventures?
Just my own money, the investments that I have made, or like sometimes it's just like paying something through the credit cards, like the factor through a credit card and then paying the credit card slowly. So that's that. But yeah, that's
Collectibles, auctions, things like that.
yeah. I collected artwork, so that was one of the things that I got into pretty early. Like even when I was in school, so that helps. So if you have a strategic investment, that helps too. Say artworks.
Can you elaborate on that? Because a lot of folks might be interested in.
So basically, artwork. I'm not sure if you have heard of like heritage auctions or something like that. So original comic book artwork, there's a market for it. Like if you know original comic book, slabbed comic books like 9.8, 9.6, those are valuable. But they got valuable late in the game. And a lot of people, they had already bought those books. So rich people have like better books, so you'll have to struggle there. So what happened is like there was a movement where people bought original art directly from artists or from dealers. So these are comic book pages, but pencil and inks. Sometimes they are painted, sometimes something else. And yeah, those people started collecting them, and now there are other people, rich people, who want to collect them too. So if you have something that can be valuable, and with the reduction in like people using manual paper and ink to create art, that's even more valuable. So
Great.
that's just look for investments. If you want to take a risk at some point, look for investments. Look for stocks or alternate investments and shit like that.
Great. So I'm just trying to go over my notes here, but something that we do here at the Heinz Institute, I'm sure it's done everywhere else as well in our schools, in a academic setting, is students work in teams, right? Can you help us understand if you work with any teams and what your experiences have been like, especially because now you're working more from a leadership perspective?
So teams, as in like the Four Horsemen, are a team, right? I have hired them, I work with them, but they are still a team. So they have sculptors, they have designers, they have artists, they have painters. So I work with them, I tell them my ideas, and then we go back and forth trying to execute those. So that's one team I work with. And then I am trying to set up a small studio back in India where we'll be doing the comic books. So there are people who do the colors of the books. There are people who do the pencil and the inks. So that's another team that I work with. So even if like you are in the entrepreneurial space, you will need a team, right? Be it like your creative team, your finance team, and at one point you'll have like lawyers, a team of lawyers. So that's very critical. And just be respectful of everyone you work with. That's the main thing.
Great. So is AI changing the game in your industry? Because it's the creative industry at the end of the day.
It is to some extent, because there are people who are doing books now using AI, and they're using I think Midjourney or something like that.
Yeah.
But AI is not there yet, where it can replace a human artist entirely. So that's one thing that's happening right now. A lot of companies who are pushing back because that's so much like you can take that away. So, but it's still changing things. Many industry veterans are using it for references. So that's going on for the comic book industry. For action figures, not yet. People are just taking pictures now and converting them to something that looks like an action figure on the screen. But not yet. 3D printing is coming in. So a lot of things will be changing because of the 3D printing that we are doing. But say tooling or actual painting of the figures, it's still in the hands of humans.
So the industry is safe as of now?
For a few years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We'll see what it goes. Okay.
Awesome. Okay. So I have just one last question and then we'll open the floor for Q&A. So my last question is, we have all these entrepreneurship enthusiasts out here, is there any advice that you would like to share with them from your life experiences, successes, failures, struggles? Any advice that you have for them?
You just have patience. So that's one of the main things that entrepreneurs have. They don't give up easy. So just have patience and always be grateful of whoever is helping you, and whatever opportunities you get, be grateful for that. So that is
Excellent. Awesome. Thanks, Soumya. We'll actually open the floor now for Q&A. So who has the first question? If you may please raise your hand. A mic would be provided to you. So we have one in the front.
sure.
Right.
Hi, thanks for coming in. My question is, you mentioned earlier about you used to innovate before you even started your company, before you even came to America. You used to innovate in your jobs day to day. Can you give an example of how you used to do that?
Yeah. So I'll give you like a very early example, right now with the action figure thing. But as a kid, we had action figures, right? We some action figures in India, and they were of like very brittle plastic, so they will break. So they will break, and I would have the option to throw them away, but I never did. And instead, what I did, like when I had a lot of broken figures, someone's hand was broken, someone's leg was broken, what I did, I created like Frankenstein's monsters out of them. So I would unscrew them, combine them to make another figure. So I would have an intact action figure, even if like something was broken. So I did that, and that always helps. That always helps. Like even if you are doing something very small, and these days we have like Legos and everything, and that helps people to be creative. I just use something, innovate, create something. So that's what the examples. And I can give you like examples from like work, but that's like more technical. Even if like one example would be like when Apple used to use Teradata as the database. Now they're moving to Snowflake. But back in the day, they had Teradata, and they would make these dashboards. And we, as one of the folks who make these dashboards from them, and at one point, as like we are giving them details of their stores, that how many phones they sold in the store, likewise. And it was a report that was going pretty high up. And what I did was like I put the images of those stores in the reports, and it was really appreciated. And they are like, we want this, we love this, we want to see more of this. And my big fail is we did not have the capacity to load images into the data. So we did not have space like that. So yeah, that would be an example from work.
Excellent. Great. Who would like the second question right there?
Hi, so I was reading on your website last night, and I wanted to know what inspired you to create the four novels between the Indian epics, ancient gods, and the mythical feasts. Like, what's the reason you did horror instead of anything else?
So growing up, growing up, we are millennials, so we had like the Harry Potter thing going on, and the Harry Potter books were expensive, and I wouldn't have access to them. Neither Harry Potter nor say Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew, nothing. So I'd go to the school library, and the books the school library had were those like old English books. So it would be like Dracula, Frankenstein, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. So I would
Classics.
Classics, yeah. I would get them and I would read them. And if you look back, all those books were like a mix of horror and romanticism like that, right? So that was a big influence on my life. And when I decided to do the books, that's what I pay tribute to everything that brings something.
Great. Right here. Front.
So you say your Kickstarter reached $70,000 in a little bit over a month. Was just wondering, how are you able to like reach that many people and accumulate that much capital in such a short amount of time?
So, one thing, if you ever do a Kickstarter, have a list of people you already know are going to help you, right? So, I did not have a very big list because this was the first Kickstarter we were doing. So we had some traction early on, and then it stopped, right? And for a very long time, no people were coming on. And what I started doing then was I was going on a lot of shows. I was doing interviews, I was doing podcasts, and I would go to any show that they would ask me to be on. And they wanted also like their viewers to see something new. And I wanted to reach people, and that worked out. I remember like on the last 2 or 3 days, we raised around 20 to 30,000 in the last 2 3 days. So that always helps when you reach 2 people. So do that, that helps. And the second thing is like if you can somehow get people to promote it, send free stuff to them. If they want money for something and they have a good enough reach, engage them. And that helps. And people come to that. It's like if they believe in your story, believe in the product.
Thank you so much. And just to follow that up, can you give an example, the example that you shared with me, paying someone to promote?
Oh, yeah. So I paid a guy who does toy reviews. So that's his entire thing. He lives in New York. Very nice guy. And he has like 330,000 followers, subscribers on YouTube. And he has like very big numbers on TikTok, Instagram, likewise. So I paid him whatever his fees was up front and sent him the figures, and we did a collaboration. And that it reached a lot.
Great. Right.
I've been thinking about those Violet books. To what extent will they still become popular, like in 2026?
I hope they will be popular someday. I'm doing the 4th part right now, and the plan is to start pitching them to companies, to Netflix, to other places next year. So once I'm done with that, that's what we'll be doing. So hopefully it will be popular.
So you mentioned that, like before you started, you went to conventions and met other people that were into similar fields. With your like line of products, do you now have your own tables and stuff like that?
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah. So I went to Terrific Con. I had my own table, and I'm going to Baltimore Comic Con in 2 weeks or so. I have a table there, and then I'm doing 2 toy cons before the year closes. Because the Comic Cons will pull in more comic book crowds, and toy cons will have people who are just coming in to buy action figures. So I'm doing 2 toy cons, one in Tennessee and then one in New Jersey before the year closes. I'm going to New York Comic Con too, but that's just to meet some people. There's an organization from who are representing the Korean government that they want us to collaborate for their stories, webtoons, games, and stuff. So, but I have tables now.
Sure. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today. Quick question: when you go to these Comic-Cons and table, how do you measure success?
I've been to just one with a table. Success, I would say, like when people come and talk to me. For now, I'm not considering monetary success yet. Until the last one that we are doing this year, I have a target for that one because that has a lot of footfall and people who just buy figures. But for now, the main thing is like how many people come to our table. So I take a note of like how many people came, who picked up what, even if they are taking just a single book. I keep track of that, and that helps. You never know who comes to your table at a con, and they might just be at some big. Like, yeah. So that's my success criteria for the first 3 cons. I just see how many people come and they interact with me. That means they saw something that interested them, right? So that's the criteria for the first 3.
And for those people that show interest in your products, do you have some
strategy for like keeping them engaged? Like, what does that look like in terms of maintaining that engagement?
So mainly I try to get them on our socials. So if they get on the socials and see what we are doing every step, we keep updating that. If we get like factory prototypes, we show that. If we are doing a new book, if we got a cover from like someone famous, we showcase that. And if someone is slightly interested and they see something that these guys are doing, they might be a customer. So on. The plan.
Yes. So what's your long-term vision for these projects? Like, what's your next step?
So for the next step, we are going to look into animation and movies, right? That's the next thing that we'll be looking for next year. But before that, we want to get some more action figures and books out in the market so that we have that IP going. And if people know it, they'll be more inclined to seeing it in a different format than if it's a fresh thing. And so that's the strategy for next year. Long term, we are planning to look into AI, to look into robotics, because we have like a manufacturing arm, so we are looking into all that and so on. So that's our short term. Long term.
Good. Other questions?
Matt.
Alright, so after you come up with your idea, what is in like the process of day-to-day work or the entrepreneurial process, what have you found to be like important that you didn't think or that you just learned to be important for like somebody just getting into this space?
So one of the main things is time management. Because at one point when I was doing the creative work, or I had a team who is helping me do something, that was it. When we started going to the public, then we added a few layers there. Right now we are talking to people, we have to make sure that the message is correct. We have to answer everyone in time, because one of them might be someone who will actually buy a product. And at the same time, when like all the Kickstarter orders, I had to back and ship them myself. So time management becomes a very big thing when that happens. And how you can do that is start keeping track of everything that you do. Everything that comes to your plate, you never know when something is going to come to your plate. Just make a note of it in your board or spreadsheet, whatever you're using, so that it doesn't fall off the reel. So, and that way you can keep track of everything and track that is it. But yeah, that's going to be very hectic when you get into the space of actually dealing with people, interacting with them, selling stuff. But that's how it is.
So let's say in the event that you release a new series of comics and they're not selling as well as your other products or as well as you would hope they would you first like try to figure out what's wrong with the story or whatever may be wrong with the comic, trying to figure out why it's not selling as well, or would you instead put that time and effort into coming up with a completely new idea that may sell better?
Might not be something wrong with your product, right? It might be timing, might be you're not reaching the right audience, right? And you don't have enough feedback to go off of something, right? If I get feedback from, say, a few people who are reading the book that this cover didn't go well, or the font that we're using is not right, then I'll look into that, how I can cut. But if something is not working financially, there are no returns, but you believe in the product, just keep it back on the shelf for a while. You don't have to sell it now, or you don't have to try to make it better. Just put it back, and you can bring it back when the time. And right now, like, we have multiple things going on. So if something doesn't work out, we can still match with other things are working. But if you have just one or two things, and one of them is not working, that's fine. We can come up with something in the same lines or in the same universe. If you're doing something like this, one character is not working, you can create another character, like bring another character from the look. That would work. So, nothing to get decided. That's a lot.
Thanks. So as we are looking for more questions, how much do the action figures retails for?
So on the Kickstarter, we sold them for 55. Because we did not want to take money from people and then develop these, we already did everything ourselves. So the product was made. So I'm going to back this on the Kickstarter to ship them out already. So on the Kickstarter, they were 55. Retail, they are 60 each. The smaller figures, these are the larger figures. The smaller figures, I think, are retail to each. So that's the cost for this. Books are, I think, 8 to 10, such like that.
Great. Other questions? Very good. Okay, excellent. So that's it. Well, Soumya, thanks so much for joining us today. It's a privilege for us. Let's give a round of applause.